electoral commissioners to our last regular meeting for the year 2019. This meeting is taking place shortly after the governorship elections in Bayelsa and Kogi states, the conclusion of the Brass 1 state constituency election in Bayelsa state, the court-ordered Iran elections in Kogi West Senatorial District and Ajakuta Federal Constituency in Kogi State, and the by-election in Sabwa State Constituency in Katsina State. You will recall that earlier in August this year, a by-election was conducted for Pengana State Constituency in Plateau State. This means that the Commission has either conducted or concluded 7 elections in 4 states across 3 geopolitical zones in the last 4 months. In addition, the Commission is also saddled with the responsibility of conducting more elections arising from the judgments of the election petition tribunals nationwide. Arising from the 2019 general election, a total of 807 post-election petitions were filed at the tribunals. Out of this figure, 582 were dismissed, 183 withdrawn by the petitioners, 30 for Iran election, and 12 for issuance of certificates of return. This means that the Commission is required by order of the tribunals to conduct rerun elections in 30 constituencies across 12 states of the Federation, involving 2 senatorial districts out of 109, 13 federal constituencies out of 360, and 15 state constituencies out of 991. In a majority of cases, elections are to be run in just a few polling units, some of them in only 1 polling unit in the entire constituency. You will also recall that elections were held in 2019 in 1,558 constituencies nationwide. The 30 constituencies into which run elections will be conducted represent 1.92%, approximately 2% of the total number of constituencies. The Commission believes that we are making progress in this respect. For instance, in 2015, elections were held in 1,490 constituencies, excluding the 68 constituencies in the Federal Capital Territory, while elections were not due, as was the case in 2019. Rerun elections by court order were held in 80 constituencies, representing 5.37%, made up of 10 senatorial districts, 17 federal constituencies, and 53 state constituencies across 15 states of the Federation. The Commission will continue to improve on our processes in spite of the extremely challenging environment created by the action and inaction of actors outside our control. It is therefore important to undertake our internal appraisal of recent elections, beginning with briefings by the resident electoral commissioners responsible for states where elections were held. Lessons learned from these elections are important in fine-tuning our processes, especially in view of the impending review of the electoral legal framework, for which the Commission will vigorously engage with the National Assembly and stakeholders. It is for this reason that this meeting will discuss the bill recently referred to the Committee on INEC by the Senate. Copies of the bill have been made available to the resident electoral commissioners for critical evaluation and input. One critical area that the Commission will engage the National Assembly is the status of the smart card reader. Let me reiterate that the smart card reader has come to stay. It cannot be jettisoned or abandoned. Rather, the Commission will seek ways by which its utility in elections can be enhanced for the triple objectives of verification of the genuineness of the permanent voters' cards, confirmation of ownership, and fingerprint authentication of voters. The status of the smart card reader must be provided for and protected by law. Similarly, accreditation data from the smart card reader should be used to determine overvoting and the margin of lead principle. The judgment of the Supreme Court on the primacy of the voters' register as the determinant of overvoting in law merely draws attention to the lacuna in the electoral legal framework, which must be addressed through immediate and appropriate amendment to the Electoral Act. The Commission will present a proposal to the National Assembly on this matter, as well as other areas in which further deployment of technology we believe will deepen the integrity of our electoral process. The Commission is deeply concerned that elections in Nigeria, especially for executive positions, are increasingly characterized by present impunity. The Commission plans for all elections to be successfully concluded and for the will of the people to prevail. It is inconceivable that INEC will make elaborate arrangement for the deployment of personnel and materials and then turn around to undermine itself in the field on election day. Impunity has become the pain of our elections. The best antidote to impunity is the enforcement of sanctions under our laws without fear or favor. Where offenders are not punished, bad behavior is encouraged. The Commission will work with the National Assembly and all stakeholders for the establishment of the Electoral Offences Commission and Tribunal, recommended by the West Committee on Electoral Reform 2008, the Remu Committee on Post-Election Violence 2011, and most recently, the Ken Namani Committee on Constitutional and Electoral Reform 2017. At the moment, INEC is saddled with the responsibility of prosecuting electoral offenders. We have drawn public attention to our constraints in this regard. We have no capacity to arrest offenders and conduct investigation, without which successful prosecution is impossible. Over the years, we have worked closely with the Nigeria Police. Since 2015, we have received a total of 149 case files, including 16 cases arising from the 2019 general election. These cases are prosecuted in the states where the alleged offenses were committed. Unlike pre-election and post-election cases, there is no time frame for the prosecution of electoral offenders. A case may go on for several years. Some of these cases were dismissed for want of diligent prosecution, while in some states, the attorneys general entered no case to get the alleged offenders off the hook. Even where the Commission recorded the most successful prosecution of electoral offenders following the violence witnessed in the Minjibir State Assembly by-election in Kano State in 2016, it is unclear how many of the 40 offenders sentenced to prison with the option of fine actually spent time in jail. The fine was paid presumably by their sponsors. That is why we believe that the Electoral Offences Commission and Tribunal will dispense justice dispassionately and speedily in the same way that the Electoral Court deals with violators in other countries such as South Africa. We also hope that the security agencies will get to the root of all violations and support the Commission to prosecute not just the thugs that terrorize voters and INEC officials, snatch election materials at polling units and collection centers, but their sponsors as well. So on this note, let me once again welcome the resident electoral commissioners to this meeting. I thank you for your attention, and the meeting now goes into the working session.